Normal chain, we make it your cyclic chain. We make it branched chain. Uh, we isomerize this. We have reforming. So all this can be done in presence of a catalyst. Okay, so large pore mordenite, it is the ratio of silica alumina is almost 5. You see that. So based on this ratio, properties are coming from. So synthetic zeolite introduced in the early 1960s was a large pore mordenite. Pore size is very big with the silicon aluminum ratio of approximately 5. So the improvement in thermal, hydrothermal, and acid stability coupled with its specific structural and compositional characteristics resulted in application of mordenite as an adsorbent and hydrocarbon conversion catalyst. We have acidic sites in this catalyst. There is one term, we'll discuss it later when we go for this zeolite the characteristics part, means the catalytic part. So this one is L-type zeolite. Is that intermediate silica zeolites. So L-type discovered in the early 50s with a silicon aluminum ratio of 3.0 have unique framework topology. This L-type, large type, we can say that, or I'm not sure, L may be coming from large. I have to check, I'm not very sure, but L type, we know that this is the type of zeolite. So these L-type zeolite catalysts adapted as commercial catalysts in selective hydrocarbon conversion reaction. So we have to see that which one can be used. Okay, this one can be used, this one also can be used also, this mordenite, this one your zeolite Y, all these in fact can be. So in your industry, what type of zeolite they are using, you ask them and see that what type of products you are getting from that. And if you study the reaction mechanism, how it is, you can understand whether it's overcracked due to these acidic sites. If it is so, you need to control the reaction. So make it less acidic, means surface, which means you have to treat it in that way. That is you can change the structure of this catalyst, use another type of catalyst, or you can synthesize based on this silica alumina ratio together with the addition of any other foreign your inorganic part like rare earth zeolite. You just suppose Y-type zeolite, right? Y-type zeolite has got this silicon SiO2, Al2O3, sodium oxide is there. Now what you do, you remove this sodium hydroxide part, you just ion exchange this sodium oxide associated with that, you ion exchange with rare earth element, then it will be rare earth Y-type, REY, rare earth Y-type zeolite. Means we can understand there is no sodium now, it's replaced by rare earth elements. So rare earth is a composition, right? Is that any metals can come from this rare earth group. It can be a mixture of that oxide or various oxides of these rare earth elements, and it can be incorporated with that, and we can improve the catalytic properties. If it is too acidic, we can make it means yes, moderate, which means not too acidic, not too basic, but a good means your in between, which can be found very good for catalytic cracking of hydrocarbon into gasoline, into various pure chemicals. So we can tailor the properties based on the synthetic conditions. So high silica zeolites, zeolite beta, ZSM5 ratio silica alumina is more than, is very high, right? 10. That means this one is that your 10, if it is 10 is to 1, so we can find out their high silica properties, means from this. So among high silica zeolites, the first in that rows was zeolite beta. Figure 4, it is not available. Yeah, zeolite beta, okay. Just we see that. And later, ZSM5 discovered by the scientist Arguer and Landolt. Okay, so however, so scientific names are sometimes difficult to pronounce because we may pronounce based on this English name. However, their English name, these are not English people but many maybe European. And if it is so, the names pronunciations in English may not carry the meaning of their names, means your in their language is different. Hmm. It's so just we whatever the pronunciation we can, because we do not know exactly what's the name, what's the pronunciation they pronounce. As for example, one day I found that in my your office, somebody, he came from your Netherlands, I think. Yeah. So his name is Drummen. So we thought that Drummen, Drummen, okay, or Amen. So we called him, yes, Mr. Drumman. Then he told us, Drumman, my name is Drewman. How can we know that it's Drewman? Is that? So it's that like this that the names sometimes it's difficult to pronounce unless we know it. Yeah? However, so these are the molecular zeolites with silica alumina ratios from 10 to 100 or higher with high different surface characteristics. Later we'll see that what are the surface characteristics of this. One of them is that their acidic part, your acid sites available on the catalytic surface, on the catalyst surface. We'll talk about this later, and basic sites also. And this also comes from the surface area also, the pore size, many things in fact. So in contrast to the low and intermediate silica zeolites, this is high content zeolite representing heterogeneous hydrophilic surfaces, hydrophilic loving, water loving surfaces within a porous crystal. The surface of high silica zeolites is more homogeneous in nature with an organophilic hydrophobic selectivity. If it is so, if it is hydrophilic loving water, that means any hydroxyl group, OH group, will be attached or will be attracted to this surface. And then if it is low silica, follow me. If it is more hydrophilic, that means it's loving hydroxyl group or this your water molecules, whereby we see that hydroxyl group is means attracted by this zeolite, high content zeolite, and it's for this it has got a different characteristics. It can be suitable for some reactions, may not be suitable for some reactions. Previously, I have shown you that if we change the catalyst, we get different type of products. We sometimes get water removal dehydration reaction. Sometimes we get that it says there's hydrogenation reaction, right? All right. So these they absorb stronger the less polar organic molecules and only weakly interact with water and other polar molecules. This type of, if it is organophilic hydrophobic, if it is so, then we have to choose our catalyst and see that our what's the reaction product. That means if it is hydrophilic or hydrophobic, we can control this one with this silica alumina ratio. So high silica zeolites, that is zeolite beta, ZSM5, all these silica alumina ratio is more than 10. So this is that structure of zeolite beta. We look at that pore size and the acidity on based on that. So high silica zeolite beta ZSM5 is like this structure, right? 5 angstrom is that pore size, very low. So and acidity also maybe very high also. Right? Okay. In addition to this novel surface selectivity of ZSM5, the high silica zeolite compositions still contain a small concentration of aluminium in the framework and the accompanying stoichiometric cation exchange sites. So this is that properties coming from this silica alumina ratio. Thus, their cation exchange properties allow the introduction of acidic hydroxyl groups via the well-known zeolite ion exchange reactions essential to the development of acid hydrocarbon catalysis properties. Later we'll discuss this one, that is the role of acidity on the surface of this zeolite for this cracking or for any other transformations or any other reactions, cyclization or your isomerization. This. The zeolites have the ability to act as catalysts for chemical reactions which take place within the internal cavities. Essentially, zeolites have two properties which make them particularly suitable as starting materials for the preparation of catalysts. They are cation exchangers. So we can exchange the cations, as I just told you, that suppose you wish to exchange the cations. Cation, where is the cation? Cation is, suppose, sodium oxide, as I told you, that it's associated with that. It will go out and come back, but we are not changing it with aluminum or silicon. So it's that other cation, your inorganic oxides available with that, and we exchange the cations with that. So hence it is possible to introduce a large variety of cations with different catalytic properties into their intercrystalline pore system, which in turn offers the opportunity to create different catalytic properties, as for example in acid or metal catalyzed reaction. We can bring any other metals also on the surface of this catalyst. So zeolites are crystalline porous materials with pore dimensions in the same order as dimensions of small simple molecules. Hence, they possess molecular sieving properties. When the shape and size of a particular pore system exert a steric influence on their reaction, controlling the access of the reactants and the products, which means, just I already discussed that, we can control the shape of this, of the pore sizes, whereby we can crack. Suppose you are cracking what? Long chain hydrocarbon. To what? You are cracking specific hydrocarbons, as for example carbon 10, carbon 5, let it be 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. After that, long chain, suppose molecules of 11, 12, 13, 14, these will not get in. Rest will go in and cracked, and the products will come out as this gasoline boiling range hydrocarbons. Rest will not enter or will not be produced and get out from that. So we can control the shape selectivity of that based on this. So this is a very unique properties of zeolite, that catalyst, that it can control the products and also the reactants coming into it, because it will have this pore size, so bigger molecules will not get in, whereas the small molecules will get in. So in case of shape selective catalyst in zeolites, the combinations of both properties exploited to control the selectivity of catalytically conducted reactions. Using zeolites as catalysts have many advantages, since they can be recovered and recycled. It's very, very important to see that whether your catalyst can be regenerated or not. Recovered, which means regenerated or recycled. You have regenerated and it can be recycled. It can be used again with greater ease and low cost. Anyway, so this is that important things we should look into the catalyst, because we will not throw away the catalyst. Then it's not a good catalyst, right? One time use, throwing away, you will have a lot of expenses on this catalyst. If you can regenerate, of course, this will save your cost, minimize this cost, and it will be the right catalyst for you. Otherwise, catalysts are good, but it cannot be regenerated, recycled, so it's of no use industrially, because we are concerned about the money. Money is very important, because we are producing some products. Products will be sold, and the money will be generated. Means will get the income. Income generation will go like this. So if our production cost is high due to this catalyst, how can it be? How can we make it available in the market? It will be costly. So this is the important thing, that we look into that any catalyst. All right. So another thing is that environmental pollution, we need to look into it, or whether it's means creating an environmental pollution or not, because later we need, when it's exhausted, cannot be used anymore, we need to throw away, because it cannot be used anymore. After that, what we do? We need to throw away. At the time it's exhausted, no way that we can use it again. There is a lifetime span, everything has got this lifetime, right? After that, we need to throw away, no other choice. But where to throw away, how to to save the environment, we have to think of that as well. So no, where about that? Just 1 minute. We're discussing here, right? So hydrogen exchange zeolites, whose framework bound protons give rise to very high acidity, are exploited in many organic reactions, including crude oil cracking, isomerization, and fuel synthesis. So because of high selectivity of zeolites, they are often the most efficient and cost-effective method for a number of refinery conversions. In the refinery, we need to crack into smaller hydrocarbon. We need to isomerize this one. We need to make it branch chain. We need to make it cyclic chain, right? In order to have good octane number. Follow? and in many other chemicals, because our straight chain hydrocarbons are bad fuel, not any good fuel, because it creates knocking. Knocking is that engine disturbance. Engine disturbance comes from this knocking, and this knocking comes from the straight chain hydrocarbon. In fact, this one goes for your uh, your free radical reaction, where this free radical needs to be trapped immediately. So it's possible by these cyclic compounds. Previously, long time ago, tetraethyl lead was used to uh, this to combat this knocking. This knocking problem was addressed by adding tetraethyl lead, TEL. Now later we found that people found that this lead is making the environmental pollution. This is very poisonous. Later it was banned. So scientists then tried to make it cyclic compounds, so that cyclic or branch chain hydrocarbons, so that this knocking performance is minimized and it's treated as a better fuel. So that's why you will find two types of fuels are available in the market: RON, rated octane number 95, rated octane number 97. Previously we discussed that 97, 95, this means is that ratio of this N-heptane versus isooctane. N-heptane, if it is 5%, isooctane, if it is 95%, your rated octane number is 95. If your all isooctane, full, no N-heptane, that means 100%, your octane number will be 100. Right? All right. So metal exchange zeolite can serve as oxidation or reduction catalyst. That is titanium ZSM5. Titanium is added to this ZSM5. Here, in fact, we have this, so as just I told you, sodium, potassium, any other things that is replaced by titanium in the production of caprolactam and copper zeolites in NOx decomposition, nitrogen oxides, oxides of nitrogen, nitrogen dioxide, pentoxide, all these NOx. That is oxides of nitrogen, nitrous oxide, nitric oxide, nitrogen dioxide, pentoxide, nitrogen pentoxide. So these are the oxides of nitrogen. Like SOx, SOx, that is oxides of sulfur, sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide. So together we call it SOx, SOx. Here it is NOx, oxides of nitrogen decomposition by this copper zeolite, right? So this metal can be ion exchanged with this zeolite framework and make this metal zeolite catalyst. So they have employed on diesel vehicles as a less costly and more effective option for NOx removal than the three-way catalytic converter. So this is the environmental point, your catalyst. We use this one to, to treat these oxides of nitrogen, make it less harmful products. So zeolites find an increasing zeolites find an increasing applications in production of petrochemicals, often replacing environmentally friendly catalysts. So zeolite catalysts typically yield fewer impurities, have higher capacity, give greater unit efficiency, and afford higher selectivity. Unlike the more hazardous acid catalysts like sulfuric acid, is that hazardous, of course, acid catalyst that have been used in the past, solid phosphoric acid, hydrofluoric acid, etc. So it can replace that one. So zeolites are non-hazardous and regenerable. That's a very, very important thing to check. With this, I thank you. Any question, please?